State Patrol officers arrested one drunk driver in Duluth last night, less than an hour after Minnesota's tougher DWI laws went into effect. But while the threat of stiffer penalties may have kept some drunk drivers off the road, State Patrol Captain Jim Lane says a change in attitude is also helping to keep the holiday a safe one.
They're taking more responsibility for their actions, and consequently we have seen a reduction in serious and fatal accidents, particularly on New Year's Eve.
In Wisconsin, where bars can stay open all night on New Year's Eve, Superior Police made one DWI arrest. They too have seen a decline in the number of intoxicated motorists.
We have seen an increase in the use of cabs, people taking those home. We encourage that. We've also seen the designated driver, and we really encourage that also.
Although drinking and driving on New Year's Eve is becoming less of a problem, authorities say there's still a long ways to go in keeping the roads safe year-round. In Duluth, Amy Rutledge, News 6.
Early evening on Highway 53, just past Virginia, 16 State Patrol, Border Patrol, DNR, and St. Louis County Sheriff's officers are just getting set up for their first sobriety checkpoint station of the new year.
So in effect, in the same area, we're screening and detecting drinking drivers who are utilizing the highway and or the trails.
As the moon took over for the sun, traffic on the highway began to pile in.
Hi, how are you?
Just fine.
We're connecting an alcohol checkpoint tonight. Any alcohol on board?
No, sir.
Drinking at all?
No, sir.
Okay, here's a letter explaining what we're doing out here tonight.
Okay,
Okay?
very good.
Have a nice night.
We want to set the message that it's not permissible, and it's not conducive to safety to drive your motor vehicle or your snowmobile while you've had something to drink. We aren't deterring you from using the trails. We aren't deterring you from using the highway. We're simply saying it's not acceptable behavior to drive your snowmobile and your car under the influence of alcoholic beverage.
The message to these two young men: don't drink and drive, and don't carry marijuana, and get insurance on your vehicle as well. For sledders, the message is much the same.
When you're on a sled and drinking, your reaction time is decreased. Everything is coming at you so fast that if you're drinking too much on a snowmobile, chances are you're going to have an accident. You just can't control the sled and use alcohol at the same time.
Stopping here at the checkpoint does tend to rattle some motorists' nerves, but the sober ones find it more reassuring than anything else.
It alerts the people that we are out trying to take care of the roads for them, and I think it's a very positive feedback from a lot of the motorists that have come through. They're really happy to see it.
Officials can't be sure of how many people they'll arrest tonight, but they say they can be sure of one thing, and that's that a person stopped will think twice next time about drinking and using a motorized vehicle. Outside of Virginia, Heather Filkins, News 6. The shiny new coat of paint may be covered by a thick blanket of new snow, but you can't hide one thing on these cars, and that's that there are plenty of them ready to be picked up by confident consumers. While it may be cold outside, car sales here in the Northland are hotter than ever. Dealers attribute that to everything from smarter advertising to smarter consumers.
The reason we don't see these huge peaks and valleys like a metro area would, I think people up here are a little more conservative, a little smarter with their money, and therefore if things do turn down a little bit, they don't just stop buying automobiles totally like they would in a metro area.
Because in the metro area, new car sales experienced a big downturn in the early 90s. Dealers here say they're feeling the new car pinch as well, but have one saving grace.
Used cars are way up in this business. At least they are in this store, and overall the year is the best year I've had in 9 years.
We've had our best year ever, and I guess we've kind of looked around and wondered why, because we try not to read the paper, but you still hear about it, and customers ask.
A check of other Northland dealers finds the situation much the same, but perhaps Jim Egebrecht puts it best.
The good dealers are going to starve out the bad ones, and the fittest survive, and I hope I'm one of them.
In Hermantown, Heather Filkins, News 6.
It's very simple. We provide positive opportunities for children to attend events, become part of a positive sports team, do cultural activities, go to a museum, maybe even go to a movie, go to a play, things that many of them have not had the opportunity to do.
(1992) ended on a violent note in Duluth after a man shot and killed his ex-girlfriend, then himself. It was one of 2 murders in the city last year. While newly released statistics show that overall the number of violent crimes in Duluth last year remain about the same as 1991, rapes are up, mainly family and acquaintance type offenses. And another big concern, says Duluth Police Chief Scott Lyons, is an alarming increase in juvenile crime.
Because there's a lot of juvenile crime out there. There's a lot of kids that are really messed up, that are committing a lot of serious crimes. They're assaultive. We've got kids carrying guns that we didn't see, in years gone by.
Police are also troubled by another disturbing trend, crack cocaine. Once thought to be just a big city problem, the highly addictive drug has made its way north to the streets of Duluth.
Up until a year ago, we had heard that there was some crack around. We didn't know if it was true. We couldn't find it out on the streets. And now we're finding it quite frequently.
The drugs are coming from major metropolitan areas, Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Texas. Sergeant Mike Anderson says the dealers, a loosely knit organization, are from out of town as well. They moved to Duluth because of an open market and the lack of competition from big city drug dealers.
I don't think it's out of control. I think there's a lot of people here that are not large dealers. They're at best medium-sized dealers. We think we have a fairly good handle on it.
Police say the increase in drugs drastically adds to the number of crimes.
It totally distorts your reality of what is right or wrong. It causes a lot of crimes, burglaries and thefts.
Police say juvenile crime and crack cocaine and what to do about it are among their top priorities for 1993, and they plan to ask for the community's help in an effort to keep the streets of Duluth safe. Amy Rutledge, News 6.
Get the loan that they need through the revolving fund.
That they will make that money available as an
A waiver for that. We've got a system.
I think this year has taught us that we were right. It was going to be successful. That there were a number of people who just needed the opportunity and the training to be able to become financially self-sufficient. So
Well, I'm young enough yet where I might consider some other employment, but for my immediate plans, I'm just going to see what it feels like to run my own time clock for about 3 months.
False promises that they'll kill you if you complain. And in Why Women Leave.
It is extremely important for children to believe in their mother's well-being.
If the children never ever learn other ways of dealing with issues, the chances are real good that in an adult relationship, they might also use those same ways of dealing with whatever it is, stress or whatever the situation might be.
We need to get things in to prevent this from happening. School with teachers. So it's going to be a tough job. Okay.
Or Student Affairs Committee against the Sundays.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Stuff it.
It's the farthest thing from our mind. We were just out trying to recruit people. We weren't trying to offend anybody.
Today's attack on Iraq was expected by many as Saddam Hussein resisted demands for compliance to UN resolutions.
And what we're getting really here is an admission, perhaps, that the first set of strikes didn't work in the way they were intended. And I'm very doubtful whether this second volley of American-only missiles this time and no manned aircraft, very doubtful whether this will accomplish the objective.
The objective of the United States has been to demand Saddam Hussein adhere to certain standards of behavior, but if force has no effect, the U.S. may eventually lose UN backing.
That they want to demonstrate that in a contest of wills, and the United States is stronger by these demonstrations of force, but each time they use one, it creates more and more doubts, because people can't see a clear purpose behind these strikes, and they can't see that they're going to be successful unless they're escalated to a greater level, which nobody seems to want.
U.S. involvement in foreign affairs with and without United Nations backing is being questioned at this time of changing administrations. The question becomes one of focus and whether it will change.
You know, they should either make a statement or else just back off and wait until there's some kind of Saddam provokes them in some other way.
We are supposed to take care of our people first. And that's all I have to say about it.
I don't know, I guess it's pretty typical of the U.S. government, and they're demanding power for the whole world. It's too bad that after they start some conflict up again, but apparently there's some things that are unsettled and they have to take care of it.
The attacks may be interpreted overseas as President Bush's last hurrah before stepping down, leaving President-elect Clinton to deal with the fallout. For now, the tense situation in the Gulf could overshadow Clinton's inauguration, keeping foreign policy on the agenda. Derek Hines, News 6.
Well, every year the seniors build the igloo, and this year the principal wanted to get the whole school involved, so we decided to have a snow sculpture contest and kind of tie that in with the snow coronation.
I like the igloo because that's just ours, the senior igloo.
Place I hear when I call here every day.
A couple times a day you call us and ask us what the temperature is. And here's how... Finishing up on Scott Michaels here, doing a little work on this rear bicuspid. Oh, no. Well, you're Carol Hall. Oh, no. Nice to meet you. Scott, shut your mouth.
Super Dave. Super Dave.
Let's see if we can get more vocal support. Maybe by
don't lie, Randy.
To the editor.
And salespeople.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Toward reducing budget deficits. My guess is will make the economy to grow. Part of the subject is Chairman Greenspan.
In fact, to sustain economic growth at the national level and to some extent locally, we need more manufacturing jobs. We have lost a lot of manufacturing jobs in the last few years, and we are far below the pre-recession peak that we reached back in 1989.
Board members seemed a little uneasy as the room filled up with spectators and news crews, but business began as usual. Even an outburst from the crowd didn't provoke a delay.
Mr. Palmer, you going to render any of that $1.2 million surplus to charitable services?
Toward the end of the meeting, however, the board chairman did deviate from normal procedure to open the session up for a brief comment period from the audience. That was tempered, though, by a directive that the board would not respond.
I might remind you that the board and the hospital at the present time are involved in some litigation, and that this is simply your chance to tell us what your comments are. There will be no response back from the board.
Last week, a suit was filed charging that a 1969 law called on Millard One to be a free hospital to serve the worthy, sick, and helpless poor of Duluth. A lawsuit earlier this year established Millard One as a public hospital with the mayor and city council as overseers. Speakers at the meeting want to make sure all this happens.
I'm here to state the position of the majority of the community of Duluth, which is that we have every intention of turning this facility back into its original mission, which was to serve the poor.
Speakers told the board they will keep coming to these meetings until they get what they demand, a free hospital for the worthy poor. At Millard One Medical Center in Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
to make sure that everything is being done properly, and if there are things that have been not done properly, I'm sure that they'll be corrected.